OnePlus has a long history of delivering some of the best phones in the business, and usually at lower prices than the competition. The latest and greatest OnePlus phone is the new OnePlus 9 Pro, which boasts an incredible display, excellent performance, and more. Of course, the OnePlus 9 Pro is the successor to another high-end phone on a budget, the OnePlus 8 Pro. The OnePlus 8 Pro is the company's flagship phone for 2020, and offers many of the same high-end features as the new OnePlus 9 Pro. So if you have a OnePlus 8 Pro, is it worth upgrading to the OnePlus 9 Pro? And if you're buying a new device, should you go for the latest phone or get a solid device on a budget in the OnePlus 8 Pro? I put the two phones head to head to find out. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support my work and I would appreciate that support. Both the OnePlus 8 Pro and the OnePlus 9 Pro look like they're made from the same company. They have the same overall design language and both look like premium devices. From the front, you might be forgiven for thinking that the OnePlus 8 Pro and OnePlus 9 Pro are actually the same device. They both have a curved display, which you might either love or hate, and they both have a hole punch cutout for the front-facing camera on the top left of the display. They're the same on the sides too, offering a power button, volume rocker, USB-C port, and a ringer switch. I love that OnePlus has kept the ringer switch on its phones, as it can really come in handy. The back of the phones is where things are a little different. While the OnePlus 8 Pro has a vertically aligned camera module in the center of the device, the OnePlus 9 Pro instead mounts its cameras on the top left. That matches other recent flagship phones, including the likes of the iPhone 12 and Samsung Galaxy S21 series. Both phones generally look modern and feel good in the hand. That said, you still might want a case for these phones, both to protect them from drops and bumps and to flatten out that camera bump on the back. Both of these phones offer incredible displays. They're both AMOLED displays with 1440p resolutions and 120Hz refresh rates. As a result, both phones offer an incredibly smooth and responsive experience. The OnePlus 9 Pro steps up the display experience to offer a variable refresh rate between 1Hz and 120Hz. That can help save on battery life. Safe to say, whether you have the OnePlus 8 Pro or the OnePlus 9 Pro, you're getting among the best display experiences out there. The displays are also where OnePlus houses the fingerprint sensors on these phones, and both phones' sensors have their pros and cons. I prefer the placement of the sensor on the OnePlus 8 Pro, as it's a little higher up on the screen, but the sensor on the OnePlus 9 Pro is more responsive, faster, and accurate, and as such, I ultimately do prefer the sensor on the newer device. As you would expect from a phone that's released a year later, the OnePlus 9 Pro does perform better than the OnePlus 8 Pro. The OnePlus 8 Pro comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 processor, while the newer OnePlus 9 Pro comes with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 888. Both devices have options for either 8GB or 12GB of RAM. Thanks to the newer processor, the OnePlus 9 Pro technically performs better than the OnePlus 8 Pro, but in day-to-day use, the differences are going to be relatively minor. Both devices can easily handle mobile gaming, heavy multitasking, and so on. Coupled with the high refresh rate display, both devices feel incredibly responsive. Ultimately, the differences in performance between the OnePlus 8 Pro and OnePlus 9 Pro will matter more at the end of their lifespan, rather than at the beginning. For now, no matter what you use your phone for, both the OnePlus 8 Pro and OnePlus 9 Pro will be up to the task. The devices both have similar batteries too. Both devices have around a 4500 mAh battery. Given the same display resolution and refresh rate, they'll probably last the same amount of time too. In use, I got a full day of moderately heavy use out of both the OnePlus 8 Pro and 9 Pro, and into the next day of use. You shouldn't expect to get multi-day battery lives out of the phones, but if you're good at keeping your phone charged up, then you won't run into any major issues. My battery benchmark confirmed similar results. The test involved streaming YouTube videos over Wi-Fi for 3 hours at full brightness, and the OnePlus 8 Pro ended the test with 73%, while the OnePlus 9 Pro ended with 75% left. Of course, perhaps one of the main areas of difference between these two phones lies in their camera. OnePlus has partnered with Hasselblad for the camera in the OnePlus 9 Pro. However, it's not immediately clear how deep that partnership runs. Right now, it seems as though Hasselblad was mainly involved in the color tuning of the camera on the OnePlus 9 Pro, though the device also has new hardware, so it's difficult to tell exactly what impact it has. Let's start with the specs. The OnePlus 8 Pro has a 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel telephoto camera with 3x optical zoom, a 48 megapixel ultra-wide camera, and a 5 megapixel color filter camera. The OnePlus 9 Pro keeps the main camera and telephoto camera, though it replaces the others with a 50 megapixel ultra-wide camera and 2 megapixel monochrome camera. Ultimately, the two phones produce very similar results the vast majority of the time. With decent lighting, both phones can capture pretty good photos, though the color depth and detail doesn't quite reach the heights of phones like the Samsung Galaxy S21 and iPhone 12 Pro. The OnePlus 9 Pro does seem to take slightly deeper photos than the OnePlus 8 Pro in good lighting, but you'd be hard pressed to tell a real difference. That changes a little in Edge, edge cases. For example, the OnePlus 9 Pro can take better low-light photos, an area where the OnePlus 8 Pro kind of falls flat on its face. The OnePlus 9 Pro can also capture higher resolution video, if that's important for you, offering video at up to 8K at 30 frames per second or 4K at 120 frames per second, compared to the OnePlus 8 Pro's 4K at 60 frames per second. The software experience on the two phones is identical. They both come with OnePlus's Oxygen OS, and Oxygen OS 11, built on Android 11, is available to both of them. I really like Oxygen OS, considering the fact that it's relatively stripped back and easy to navigate. The only difference between Oxygen OS on the OnePlus 9 Pro compared to the 8 Pro is that you might get an extra year of updates on the newer phone, considering it's, well, newer. So who's the winner? Well, obviously the OnePlus 9 Pro, but it's clearly a much closer race than you might have thought. The OnePlus 9 Pro performs better and has a slightly better camera than the OnePlus 8 Pro, but it's certainly not worth upgrading from the OnePlus 8 Pro to the 9 Pro. And if you want a solid phone on a budget, it might be worth simply going for the OnePlus 8 Pro instead, given the fact that it's quite a bit cheaper than the 9 Pro right now. That said, you really can't go wrong with either phone, and no matter which device you get, you'll be getting a high-end device with versatile features. It's also worth considering other phones though. With the OnePlus 9 Pro coming in at $970, it's the most expensive OnePlus phone to date. That's Galaxy S21 territory, and if you're looking for a high-end phone, it's probably worth going for the Galaxy S21 Plus instead, considering its better camera. You can buy both of these devices using the links in the description. Thanks so much for watching this video, and again, please hit the like button and subscribe if it was helpful to you. My name is Christian, and I'll see you next time. See ya.